Hey guys, welcome to the first ever State of the Universe episode. This is a dedicated episode for every week. We're going to look at the big storylines hitting the world of wrestling, and I'm also going to give my opinion on the matters as well. So if you're new to the channel and you like what you see in this video, why don't you give us a like, a subscribe, and press that bell so you can keep notified. Now that that's all said and done, let's hit the music and let's get on with the show. So if you've been hiding under a rock for the last few days, the big news coming out of the world of wrestling has been Seth Rollins and Will Ospreay's little clash, I would say, on Twitter. It was quite interesting. It started off with Seth talking about stomping grounds. Pretty much, I think this is the line which everyone kind of jumped at, and I think Ospreay did as well. Find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do it, as often as I do it, you can't. Ospreay obviously replied to that. I went, I'm alive. Ospreay's had probably one of the best, last year and a bit has been one of the best wrestlers in the world, and him replying to that, just awesome. I'm alive. It wasn't anything against Seth. He was just saying, look, I'm someone, I'm alive. And Seth replied to that, and I think this again, awesome. I like when this happens. Sorry little guy, we already have a better version of you here. He's just won his first US title. Congrats, Ricochet. Keep working hard, little buddy. Through it, buddy. And then obviously he added more to it. I mean, if you want to talk numbers, we can always compare bank accounts to PS VAT counts, counting a month off with a broken back. Ospreay obviously took offense to that. I went, you love adding stuff, don't you? I mean, original question was, find anyone alive who does what I do as well as I do, as often as I do. No talk of money, no talk of Ricochet. You said anyone. I'm here. Just as consistent, just as good. Hope the back heals up. And that was quite interesting, and that really started off like a social media Team Seth or Team Ospreay. And I was like, I'm going to stay in the middle here, because I think both guys have their own points. I think both guys are two of the top guys for their company. And I can see where Seth's coming from. I definitely can see where he's coming from. He's one of the top guys at WWE. He has to defend his company. And right now there's a lot of eyes on WWE, with AEW becoming, getting closer and closer to their TV debut. They've got their pay-per-views coming out more and more now. There's a lot of focus on what WWE is going to do. And Ospreay, obviously, he is now, I think, someone who is going to be, as a massive replacement for the Kenny Omegas in that New Japan roster. I think Ospreay is at that level where he can have those type of matches which we were getting when Kenny was at New Japan. And I think it's really interesting that both guys were like, look, I'm the best guy in all this stuff. And it really was quite interesting to see this. But what was interesting was the ENC Pod of Awesome. So Will Ospreay was the guest for the podcast this week, and before Will got on, Edge and Christian had their 2 cents, and I love listening to two guys like Edge and Christian because they have years and years of experience with independents to WWE. They just know the company, and then they are respected from the fans, from from the wrestlers themselves, from any company. If Edge and Christian give you advice, if you're in any company, you would take that advice. I am sorry, but you would. But it was interesting to hear what Edge and Christian had to say about the Seth Rollins tweets and the Ospreay tweets, and I think this really was the most interesting one. So Edge started off, he's one of the top guys, along with Kofi, along with Reigns and AJ. He has to believe, he has to step up and say those things. The locker room expects someone like him to say those things, and I totally get it. Again, he gets where Seth is coming from. Seth is a big name in the locker room in WWE, and for the last few weeks, we've all had wrestling fans just absolutely criticizing WWE for every little thing, with tours, shows, everything. And I understand. And after a while, if you're one of the top guys and you're hearing just constantly fans just going, well, this isn't good enough, we don't want this and all this, and then Seth going, look, I'm one of the top guys, I'm performing at a top level every single week, you just expect an Edge really did hit it on the nail when he said that. Christian as well, pretty much, again, very similar thoughts and comments on exactly the same thing. Here's the thing, too, doesn't matter company or promotion, what you want to say you work for, it doesn't matter who you work for, you should feel that way. The place that you work, the company you work, the crew, your roster, and you know competition is a good thing. And if everybody is challenging everyone to step up, that's only good for the fans. And that is Christian saying, look, it's good that Seth and Ospreay were challenging each other to up their game in this. And I totally agree with what Christian has to say. Because, again, these are two of the best wrestlers in the world saying, come at me, I'm ready, I want to have one of the best matches, and I'll take on anyone to prove that I'm one of the best. And that's where I come into this comment. So for me, I totally agree with what Edge and Christian are saying. These are two guys who are defending their companies, and that's it. And it was interesting as well in the interview that Ospreay even said, look, I've got no beef, I wasn't being malicious to Seth, there was no malicious thoughts to it, I was just putting my side in. And he also said he even reached out to people who know Seth and see if Seth had any beef towards Will, and apparently the feedback was no, Seth wanted this, he wanted someone to step up, and Ospreay was the guy, and I love it. Hell, Ospreay even got a t-shirt, and that is a damn cool shirt, and I'm probably going to have to order that one at some point because it is bloody awesome. But yeah, that's my opinion. I think that's awesome from both Seth and Ospreay to really go on to that. As well as that, we also had the big news from WWE that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff will be coming exclusive directors for Raw and SmackDown. So Paul Heyman will be running Raw and Eric Bischoff will be running SmackDown. Now I've already made a lengthy video about that. It'll be in the link at the top, and also I'll put a link to it in the comments as well, in the breakdown as well. But this was quite interesting. Again, this is really kind of warped everyone, like, oh my god, this is big news, big changes in WWE. And like I stated, I've already made a video of it if you want to see. The only added bits I wanted to talk about with this one was there was a lot of questions asked about Triple H. Obviously, the new executive directors roles which Paul Heyman and Bischoff will be taking. Where does that leave Triple H? And according to sources from Dave Meltzer and everyone like that, is that Triple H will be staying at his role, but his role is still higher up than what the directors' roles which Heyman and Bischoff have. Pretty much, Bischoff will only focus on SmackDown, Heyman will only focus on Raw, and they will only communicate to Vince McMahon. So they don't answer to anyone but Vince. Okay? On kind of the same level but slightly higher, you have Triple H. Now Triple H will be running NXT UK, 205, SmackDown and Raw as in talent relationship. So he'll be still running NXT UK and 205 and NXT, all those by himself. But he will still be answering to Vince McMahon. Now rumours have it that Vince is talking about relinquishing a little bit more power towards Triple H. Now I can't see that happening in particular, but it is interesting to see that Triple H is still, vice president of this company really. He's very much in charge of everything else, and he's running the company in a way now. So I like I stated, I've made a lengthy video about it, so I won't go too much on, but I think this is a good thing with Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman coming in charge. These guys are veterans, they have years and years experience, And I found it quite funny that someone tweeted this with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff win 18 years and the Alliance finally won, and I did giggle a lot to that tweet, so that was pretty awesome. But yeah, like I stated, Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff coming in is gotta be good things for WWE. So we have a Kenny Omega ripping onto WWE. Now, as we know, on July the 13th, we will have AEW's Fight for the Fallen. This is a charity showcase where all proceeds through that showcase will go to survivors of gun violence. A very noble cause, especially with the large increase in gun violence in the States. But obviously WWE announced as well on their social media that they will be streaming Evolve's 10-year anniversary, as well with big names from 205 and NXT taking part in this event. This caused a bit of a angry tweet from Kenny Omega, who I am going to read it because it's very, very much, you know, you can see Kenny being very annoyed and very angry with this tweet with WWE, and it's hitting at WWE for a lot of things. And this tweet was deleted afterwards, but if lining your pockets with blood money is okay, then what's wrong with trying to undermine a charity show for victims of gun violence? I hear the healthy competition is supposed to be a good thing, yet I can't help but feel like I'm going to be sick. My sentiments as well. You know, I'm someone who will, you know, I agree with Kenny Omega and stuff like that. If it's a charity event for victims of crime like gun violence, then WWE, can't they just move it to another day? Like, but I know it's not their company, it's Evolve Wrestling, and they just streaming it. I know they have a very, very strong partnership with Evolve, and that's why they're doing it. They send a lot of their talent. Started sending a lot of talent from NXT and that lot to do shows at Evolve as well. For me, this one's a difficult one because I'm someone who's going to probably watch both. I'm going to watch the, you know, AEW show, and I'm definitely going to be watching the Evolve anniversary. But I live in the UK, so for me, I'll probably watch them the next day. So it doesn't really make a huge difference for me. But I can understand why this is a big thing for people like, you know, for Kenny Omega, who's put a lot of work and effort into getting this charitable event done, and then having a company whose pretty much only concept of caring right now is blood money from Saudi Arabia. It can really hurt someone's, you know, thoughts and feelings, and I can understand where Kenny's coming from in this one. This is definitely one of the most ruthless parts of, you know, wrestling. WWE are going to start doing stuff like this, and this is the start of the AEW versus WWE. If we, you know, and I'm in the mind of competition makes good programming for us, the fans. So if AEW go, right, screw them, we'll have the best showcase match ever, we'll beat whatever Evolve has to show, then cool, look forward to it. But WWE's hands are, we're going to have some of the best guys from 205 and NXT taking part, then I'm going to be excited about seeing both shows. For me, I'm excited to see what both products can produce and showcase for us, the fans. So yes, I can understand why Kenny was upset and angry, and he did the right thing deleting that tweet. He definitely did. But him sending that shot is just showing that WWE are going to have times when they're going to get under his skin, and I just hope that it doesn't affect too much of what happens for this showcase. But yeah, interesting to see this really kicking off between, you know, AEW and WWE has already started with the mind games. Next up, we have a story from House of Hardcore podcast, where we talk. Tommy Dreamer talks about back in 2001, back at WrestleMania 17, he contemplated killing Paul Heyman, legitimately killing Paul Heyman and taking his own life. Now, for me as a wrestling fan, that is mind-boggling. But you hear his story, you listen to it, and he wasn't joking. He states, "I'm not joking, I literally thought about killing Heyman." And that's so... it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Mental health issues over here in the UK is a much talking point, and it should be a talking point in the world of wrestling. I think with wrestling it is much more needed, especially with guys and girls. If your income comes from being healthy, working, traveling, and all this, and you can't provide because you're injured, depression does set in. And depression is... we've seen it with wrestlers in the past. We've seen it recently with wrestlers who are taking their own lives because of depression. And this is something I think wrestlers and the community need to look into. We need to focus on mental health issues for wrestling fans, wrestlers. Sorry, and I think that something needs to be done. I honestly think companies like AEW, WWE, New Japan, they should have in place counselors who can help talent, especially if they're injured, especially if they're not feeling themselves, just be able to go down to like a performance center and just speak to someone about what's going on in their heads. And and that should be covered. I think that should be covered over here in the UK. It should be covered in the NHS. I honestly believe that mental health is a major issue, and it should be focused on not just in wrestling but in everyday society. And we're seeing it more and more, not just in the wrestling community, but in communities in general, where depression is at a all-time high, and people are taking their lives. They're taking steps to end their lives, and it's sad. It's interesting. It's an interesting listen. I suggest, guys, if you haven't listened to Tommy Dreamer talk about it, it is a very much a must listen to, and it should be talked about more. We should talk about depression more in wrestling. So I thought this was a very interesting story, and I wanted to put it into the state of the universe because something like this needs to be focused on. Last but not least, for the stories for this week, we're looking at Dave Meltzer's report of Brock Lesnar contract expires. It's gonna, according to Dave Meltzer, pretty much Lesnar's contract will expire May/June 2020. Now, to be honest, we'll probably see another year extension given to Brock Lesnar. Big money one there for that. But would it be interesting if that's it? That's it. His contract expires. He goes off. He retires. We don't have Brock Lesnar anymore. For me, as a fan, yeah, I know there's a lot of people who go, Lesnar's a big value ticket. We should have him as long as possible. And long, we've seen what happens after a wrestler gets to a stage where he's been going too long, and it just isn't good. Look at Undertaker. He's returned. Yes, Undertaker is awesome. Holy crap. He returned on Raw. It was awesome. But he still looked haggard. He looked old. And I don't want to see Brock Lesnar wrestle that much anymore. It was cool when he first returned. Now, as a fan, I'm kind of like, I want to see these younger talents have these opportunities. And I don't want to see Brock Lesnar with a Money in the Bank suitcase. I don't want Brock Lesnar being near a main event of at a pay-per-view anymore. I want those to go to the talent who are there every single week. But what do you guys think about that one? Do you guys think it's a good thing if Lesnar's contract runs out next year and that's it, we don't see Lesnar anymore? Or do you think it is a big loss for WWE? Leave it in the comments below. And there you go, guys. That was the State of the Universe, the first episode of where we break down all the news happening in the crazy world of wrestling. What was your guys' opinions? That's the most important thing about these videos. Not just my opinion, but your guys' opinion as well. If you agree with what I say, if you disagree, leave it in the comments below, guys. I want to hear what you have to say about what's going on in the world of wrestling. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do. It's at SmackTalkYouTube. If you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boyze88. And like I said at the start of the video, if you do like this content, if you like this new show, please like, subscribe, and press that bell to keep notified. And I'll see you guys next time on the next episode of State of the Universe. See you later.